Susie, this is a good question because I haven't seen one like it. Alternative method of instruction, for those of you who don't know what that is, it just means, when, let's say, the superintendent closes a school for inclement weather or for whatever reason, that there's a plan for the students to continue getting their education or alternatively, if the child misses a day, then there's a mechanism in place for them to be able to receive or continue to get remediation or stay on track. And I'm talking about the school track as far as instruction. That's what that means. Now, insert an IEP into that, and they are allowed 5 alternative method instruction days per year. And you cannot find information about the makeup of IEP services for AMI days. You're not necessarily going to find that. Now, the reason that is the case is that an IEP by design is flexible and fluid. All right. And I know a lot of parents, it's hard to, I'm not going to say it's hard to grasp. It's not hard to grasp the concept of a evolving contract. Because you develop your IEP, that the implementation dates typically start at the beginning of the school year, depending on your implementation dates that are on somewhere along the heading of your IEP, of when the implementation starts and when your IEP expires. During that time frame, and after the first time that you sit down and develop it, all right, that's a contract. There you go. Now, at the same time, a school system or a parent can call as many IEP meetings as they want during that school year or during those implementation dates. And at that point, this base can be amended. So even though it's a contract, the mechanism for amending it is in there. So you can add an amendment, and then the new amendment becomes the new contract, 4 corners of the document. Now, at the same time, because it is a flexible, evolving document that, yes, on a level is a contract, what parents need to realize is that different aspects of it, those implementation dates are very important, because the implementation dates would indicate a couple things. Number one is how many minutes or how much time in specialized instruction and related service a child requires in order to make gains and make tangible progress toward their IEP goals. All right? That's what the services are for. So the services, related services, occupational therapy, speech language, special education, all of those things are determined in order to make tangible progress and gain, and make gains, all right? But they have from the start date to the end date to accomplish that. So there's 2 ways of looking at it. Number one is the IEP team determined that all of those meetings, all of those minutes were necessary. And so if they miss some minutes, let's say 5 alternative method of instruction days, let's say they miss all 5 of those days, and let's say it calculates to be 1.5 hours or 2 total hours for the school year where your child missed services. Okay, would you be entitled to compensatory or to have that time made up? Yes and no. Some schools would sit there and say, yes, we want to make those up. That's great. That's proactive. But then other schools will sit there and say, but your child made progress. And most schools are going to lean over to the secondary and say, look, yes, your child missed some days. Either your child was sick or the teacher wasn't there, and there wasn't anything specific in the IEP written in that days would be made up or days wouldn't be made up. I encourage parents, and I've seen a lot of IEPs to where it will specify that, these minutes will not be made up if these things occur. Let's say the child is absent, then those days aren't made up. I've seen other ones that say that if more than X number of minutes are missed, then anything outside of that would be made up. I mean, you negotiate those things inside of that evolving contract. But let's say that none of those things exist, and you're just sort of flying by the seat of your pants, and you have those 5 instructional days that, let's say, are missed. Well, what do? It's not specified in the IEP. And like I said, it goes one way or the other. You can negotiate that, but at the same time, if the school system comes back and says, well, we had from this point to this point for your child to make progress, tangible progress toward their goal. And here is the evidence showing where they have made that progress. And if they've made that progress, then I can tell you, with an analysis on my end, a hearing officer or a federal judge would be hard-pressed to grant compensatory education for that missed time if the child made tangible, measurable progress without that time. Okay? Now, if the child did not make the progress, and if the child regressed or was stagnant, then yes, you would be in a strong position to sit there and say, you guys, you didn't do enough. But I can sit there and tell you that if it wasn't 2 hours that you might have missed, you sprinkled up, let's say, in 30-minute increments or even 5 hours over the course of the school year, that wasn't the reason your child was stagnant or didn't make progress. It would have been the entire IEP altogether, and somebody getting it wrong with regards to present level of performance, the kind of curriculum or the manner in which your child learns. They weren't instructing your child toward their learning style. I would look at all of those things. It wouldn't be the 5 hours. It would be a much bigger issue. But that is basically the analysis, is that's what I would do. I would look at the start date, the end date. Did the child make progress before I went back and started complaining about missed minutes over here? And that's just sort of how all of this works. I hope all of that made sense. But very good question. I appreciate it.